Online scams are growing exponentially this year because more people are spending time online with lockdowns and various laws about going to work or going to school. More people are in their homes spending time online doing research. At the same time, many people also are more desperate for a little extra money, right? So if your income is diminished because of lockdowns or companies being shut down, the idea of making an extra few $100s or a few $1,000s because of some investment or some savings on a purchase becomes very appealing. And scammers are using this desperation as a way to get people to send them money, right? And a scam is just sending money for something that doesn't exist. It can show up in a number of different forms. It can be a cheap apartment that's advertised below market rent, where you have to send in a security deposit first and last month's rent. It could be a cheap car where you have to send a deposit without seeing it. It could also be things like Bitcoin scams, where if you send in $10,000, you're going to make 20% a month, and then you get your money back, right? So the idea of making thousands extra in income for really no work is also appealing. It can be cheap inventory. We're selling this excess inventory from this company for pennies on the dollar, and you send the money in and there's really no inventory. Most of these online scams originate in social media. You'll see it on Instagram, on Facebook, on OfferUp. Sometimes it's direct messaging that comes to you. Either way, the scammers sometimes are running multiple different scams at the same time. Sometimes it's a real estate investment, and then at the same time they have another thing for Bitcoin or other cyber currency, and the result is the same. You send hundreds or thousands of dollars online, usually through cryptocurrency or wire transfer, or sometimes gift cards from Walmart or something that's untraceable, to a scammer, and they take your money, and then they'll either go ghost or they won't respond, or sometimes they ask for more money. If you lose 2 or 3,000, they say, well, there's a fee, we have to release your money, send us another couple hundred. They will keep asking for money until you stop sending them money. So online scams, we've seen them for 20 years in the history of our investigative agency, but the last year has seen an explosion in the number and an explosion in the victims, because more people are working from home or at home and have more time, and more people need a little extra cash or a savings. So they're falling prey to these scams. So what do you do if you suspect a scam or you have become victim to a scam? Well, the first thing to do is to make sure you don't incur any more losses. Don't send any more money. The second thing to do is to make sure there's no other risk involved. Did somebody get your personal information? Did you send a copy of your driver's license, credit card information, banking information? Lock down any other risk or vulnerability. Also look to maybe get some legal advice from an attorney to find out if there are any other liability risks you have of being part of a scam, even inadvertently, or to make sure your personal safety isn't at risk. Most importantly, from an investigative standpoint, remember, we're not attorneys, we're not giving you legal advice, and there may be other things you need to look into, like I said, personal safety or liability, but this is just from an observation from a licensed investigator. Make sure that there's no other leaks to where somebody can take money. Do they have your PayPal login? Do they have your cryptocurrency keys? Do they have other ways that they could take more money later? Don't necessarily shut down communications with the person or tell them, I know you're a scammer, and you get mad at them, because there may be reasons why keeping the door open might be valuable. After you've protected any other future losses, damage, injury, or liability, the next thing to do is look at, well, what can I do to maybe get some money back? The getting the money back has 3 steps. First of all is identifying who is really behind the operation, who's the true identity of the scammer. Most times they're going to give you a fake name, fake email, fake phone number, if there even is one. The website might not be that legitimate. But within all of those fake information sources are clues to who the actual person is. There's an IP address for that email that you had. There are hosting and register information for the website. There's a VoIP provider for the phone number. There's even banking information wherever you sent the wire transfer or the cryptocurrency. There's banking information. So there may be a way to piece that together. The question is, how are you going to do that? So step one is identifying the person. Once you've identified the person and who they are, step two is finding out where the assets are. What did they own? Did they own cars, real estate? Did they have bank accounts? And step three is doing recovery of assets through those asset sources. And that is more of a legal process that may require courts or attorneys. It's not going to be an automatic thing. If you find out they have a bank account at Wells Fargo, you can't just call Wells Fargo and say, hey, this guy scammed me, give me their money. The bank's not going to take your word for it. They need some more official legal documentation. But the start is to find out who the identity is. In many cases, that's all you need to do. If you identify the true person behind the scam, usually they don't want their personal information made public, so they might refund you just to kind of keep you off their back, right? Maybe law enforcement can get involved to make sure that there's no other victims. But if you identify the person and call them at their house, or you call them at their job, or email them at their regular email address and say, look, you scammed me out of $1,500, give me my money back, sometimes that's enough for them to actually do it. The process of identifying the person and finding the assets and everything else, that's the investigative process. For most smaller losses, a few hundred or a few thousand, it may be worth doing it yourself, because the cost of the investigation could be more than what you lost on the scam. There may be some options. You can check out our website where you can maybe buy a few hours worth of investigative time where we can do some of the legwork for you, deliver some information to kind of fast forward it. That may be an option. If you want to do it yourself, that's fine too. Our website also has instructional videos of how to do these locates of people, how to do the locates of assets, how to do the asset recoveries. And a lot of the cost involved in doing this type of investigation is just time, right? It's just investigative time. So instead of paying for an investigator to spend 3 or 4 hours doing this work, if you can do it yourself, even if it takes longer, even if it takes you 5 or 6 hours worth of work, you could save some money on the investigation, so you don't throw good money after bad. So either way, that's the first thing. Make sure you don't have any more losses, identify the party, look for their assets, and then take it a step further. Because online scams are, we probably talk to 80 or 90 people a day with inquiries, and half of them are from one of these online scams that took several thousand, sometimes a few hundred, but usually a few thousand. Cryptocurrency scams are big. Rental scams are big. There's even some dating scams where people will say that they talk to you back and forth as a potential relationship partner, and then they say, send me $500 for a plane ticket to come see you. There's all kinds of scams. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just a person on the other end with a keyboard and a computer trying to tell you a story to have you send money. The story behind it is completely vapor. There's nothing to it, but it's a reason that you are going to be enticed to send that person money for something that might benefit you in the future. So if you haven't yet become a victim, then there's other videos we have that will tell you how to recognize these scams. You're verifying all of the things that are being represented to you before you send money. But if you are a victim, the first step is making sure you're not going to lose any more money, and then looking to see how you're going to identify who really is the person that took your funds and took your valuable hard-earned cash.